All right, so I have your permission to record. This is our second meeting here, and then I'm going to raise my desk so I can stand up to do this.
Mhm.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, good. Yeah, last week was crazy. I didn't really have the time to
Oh, right.
practice any of the songs.
Yeah, well, when I didn't
Yeah.
hear from you, I thought, this is unlike you.
Yeah. No, it's hard to get everything. There's just so much going on, right?
Yeah.
And then the week just flashes by so quickly.
I thought it was just me, but you feel that way too?
Um, yeah, that I feel that way this week, but not as much as last week.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that way every week.
Every week? All
Every
right.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like suddenly it's Saturday.
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we have those songs. So I'm going to start with the Lucky song. So we're
Okay.
going to, because that's just that'll bring me in there faster. And I don't know why that happened. So I'd like to work on more of like phrasing and just the emotions of it rather than like there's always technique, right? But
Mhm.
then because I want to get into the cells have got to um, believe the story, right? So it's really storytelling to
Mhm.
your own body and your cells. And so um, what is your experience with this song?
Um,
Do you like it?
yeah, I like Jason.
Okay.
I think his melodies are beautiful.
Oh, good.
I do. I think he's great.
Yeah. A cappella, it's hard because it goes up and down.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But
Like,
anything can be done, right? So
well,
I
I
think
mean,
a
the
lot about my
message is
wife.
beautiful
Yeah.
too. If you lucky,
Right.
I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have
Right.
been where I have been. Lucky to be
Yeah.
I mean, if we all felt that way all the time and just was grateful for all of what
Hmm.
we have,
Hmm.
how much would that change our attitude and change the way we see the world if
Hmm.
we all felt like that? So he's really got a beautiful message in this song.
Yes, and I
And
do feel that way, right? My best friend is my wife, so it helps, right? So that's why bringing into this song before the other ones is helpful. Um, so I'll just start.
yeah, okay.
Do you hear me? I'm talking to you across the water, across the deep blue ocean, under the open sky. Oh my, baby, I'm trying. Boy, I hear you in my dreams. This would be her part, right? I feel
Mhm.
your whisper across the sea. I keep you with me in my heart. You make it easier when life gets hard. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have been where I have been. Lucky to be home, coming home again. Ooh, they don't know how long it takes waiting for a love like this. Every time we say goodbye, I wish we had one more kiss. I'll wait for you. I promise you I will. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have been where I have been. Lucky to be coming home again. So kind of like that. What did you think?
I'm thinking I thought it was really good. I think that
Hmm.
maybe if we take it down a little bit
Hmm.
instead of because it
It
does
says
go
so,
up
so high,
high,
right? Yeah.
and I think
I
for you,
didn't warm up either. So
yeah,
maybe, right? Maybe all that. Plus we were trying to connect and then so I was a little,
right.
but if I started lower, right? So
If you
do you
started
hear
lower,
me? I'm talking to you across the water, across the deep blue ocean, under the open sky. Oh my, baby, I'm trying.
Yes.
Oh, boy, I hear you in my dreams. I feel you whisper across the sea. I keep you with me in my heart. You make it easier when life gets hard. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have been where I have been. Lucky to be coming home again. Ooh, they don't know how long it takes waiting for a love like this. Every time we say goodbye, I wish I had one more kiss. I'll wait for you. I promise you I will. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have been where I have been. Lucky to be coming home again. Lucky we're in love in every way. Lucky to have stayed where we have stayed. Lucky to be coming home again someday. So, that's better, right? There's a difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm more in the mood now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
thrown
Yeah.
off a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was definitely a difference.
The difference.
Yeah, there
My
was.
my wife said that sometimes, like she'll say like because she actually can sing like naturally, and and then I have to practice. Um, but she said this is very different than when she first met me, right? When before I got the research and I was interested in this, now I'm the weakest link in the house, right? So as far as, and the girls just like they hum all this stuff all day long.
Uh-huh.
It helps them learn their English, and when I do the Chinese songs, it helps them with their Chinese. They become very engaged.
Mhm.
So I sang both high and low to her, and she liked both of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and on the high one, like you described, it's brighter,
Mhm.
and I just have to be. I think might have been because I wasn't in the mindset yet.
Right.
So let me try the high one. You let me know if it's
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
So
Now I'm
I
just
was
gonna give you a one vocal
yeah.
note is that
Mm,
when you breathe deeper in between
mm.
verses.
Okay. Yes.
Just take the time to get that breath a little
Mm,
deeper so you're sustaining the thought and
mm.
the note itself.
Yes.
Mhm.
Do
Okay.
you hear me? I'm talking to you across the water, across the deep blue ocean, under the open sky. Oh my, baby, I'm trying. Boy, I hear you in my dreams. I feel your whisper across the sea. I keep you with me in my heart. You make it easier when life gets hard. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have been where I have been. Lucky to be coming home again. Ooh. They don't know how long it takes waiting for a love like this. Every time we say goodbye, I wish I had one more kiss. I wait for you. I promise you I will. Lucky I'm in love with my best friend. Lucky to have been where I have been. Lucky to be coming home again. Lucky we're in love in every way. Lucky to have stayed where we have stayed. Lucky to be coming home someday.
Yeah, you did
More
good.
believable than when I first
Yeah,
see. Yeah,
as you
right.
were singing, I was thinking, wow, this is a hard song and you're doing, I mean, the melody, it goes up and down and it's lyrical, a lot of words,
Yeah,
a lot of interval changes, and you're doing a great job on it. Both,
yeah.
I like both the lower and the higher. I think my preference would be the lower,
Hmm.
just because it had a little more heart.
Ah, it had
But
more heart. Okay.
Yeah,
She
but
was scared when I did the lower one first because, well, and I did the higher one, then I did the lower because she said, oh, maybe too like, serious like that, serious. So where
I
your
see. Yeah, yeah,
thyroid,
yeah.
right? And but then she liked both of them too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
and I, I'm glad we recorded the first one where I tripped. Mood has so much to do with it.
Mhm.
Not that I didn't want to, right? But um, I had to text my next meeting saying that I would be 10 minutes late, and she replied. So then I had to reply her. She said, "What do you mean? Is it today or not?" And I was looking at the phone, and then my mind wasn't there, and I was looking at, okay, what are our topics? Oh, she replied, okay. I didn't even look at her reply. So because I wasn't there, and I had to shift, right? When I shifted, there were still these lingering thoughts in my head
Mhm.
and in my heart, and that prevented me from being all there. And just reflecting on the past, I used to not be there at all
Mm.
when
Mm.
it came to like I would sing for singing, but I wouldn't be connecting.
Mhm.
um and I don't know if other people have that problem, but my wife doesn't have that problem. I have that problem. That's like a problem for me where I'm not there. Not that I'm nowhere, I'm somewhere, but my mind is like, there's like patterns going on. There's math in the head, math, right? So it's
Mhm.
like if you combine math with singing, that's like somewhat disgusting, right? Some people might think like that's just not, no, but it's it's something that you can't help yourself with, right? Especially if I came out of a math session, or I'm looking at something, or I'm thinking triangles. This is where you're talking about your best friend, and
Mhm.
because she's better than me in physics, better than me in math. She doesn't have all the degrees I have, and she sings better than me, and then not so I'm the lucky one, right? It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, and she would tell me that I wouldn't be engaged. So I'm going to try the next one, which is Can't Help Falling in Love.
Mhm.
This one was terrible when I used to do it.
Oh, really?
Terrible.
Oh, I can,
Yeah.
because it's such a lovely melody, and I would imagine that you would have been singing it really well. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
have a thought on you
hmm,
talking about the
engagement.
thoughts and
Yeah.
engagement. I mean, thoughts
Yeah.
are interesting. Um, there's, I mean, e- old age sayings and great
Mm,
prophets and things like that. It's always they always talk about being in the moment, and that's the most
mm,
powerful place we can be. And I
mm,
think distractions in our minds are just overwhelming, especially with the world of today. And in
mm,
singing, sometimes a singer can sing and not be engaged because they're thinking vocal technique, or they're thinking of they're getting the note, how they're getting the note. And then when you let that all go and you just think about what you're singing about, it's
mm.
probably the most honest you can be, I believe.
And she said, this is quoting my wife. She said that when I'm engaged with the song, I hit all the notes. She said, you're pitch on when you're engaged, but you could be like pitch off if you're not. And that comes back to like even like a Billie Holiday, right? She was so engaged with the song that it didn't matter where she came in, she was engaged, right?
Right.
So the engagement is so important, such that if you're not engaged, it just messes everything up. So
Mhm.
how I luck the song Lucky helped me a lot to start, because like, for example, we go into Can't Help Falling in Love. I imagine it this way: is wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you? Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. How's that?
Ah, that's really nice. That's really nice. This is a kind of a song I think that
Mm,
if you sing more of a vocal line than a lyric, like
mm,
the other song, Lucky, you're
mm,
singing more of a lyric because
yeah.
it's got a lot of words and but
Mm,
this has got a vocal, the melody is just so beautiful that if you
mm,
think about, if you engage in the melody, it's going
mm.
to come across a little more engaged. Does
So
that make
what I did there
sense?
was I thought about wise men say only fools rush in is not me talking yet. I'm just quoting. So I
Okay.
want to make sure that when I say that, I'm thinking that, but I can't help falling in love with you. And then that's me coming in. And then shall I stay? Would it be a sin? So I first talked through the song, and that
Okay.
engaged me a lot more when I was practicing with him. And the amount of practice I did was very little, but more than last week. That would have been terrible. But what happened was my wife was there, and she said, "Wow, you talking through what the lyrics meant is almost like a breakthrough." I said, "Really? I gotta see if it holds up." So this was on Wednesday, and then last night I was programming and doing all type of AI stuff. I did a little bit, like maybe not neither of these songs, and I was like, "All right, I gotta run the experiment. I gotta see what happens if I just jump right in." But if you think it's bad, it's good, right? Then and you felt engaged by it, then that means that it worked. That
Mhm.
I went, I got, it's the engagement that made a difference. So let's test another one, which is your song, Elton John. Okay. And you felt the note I held long enough, the suggestion on the note
Yeah,
before. Oh
as
yeah.
long as you're engaged, it doesn't matter
Okay.
how long as long as you're engaged, like you
Yeah.
had just said. You
Yeah, yeah. It's
as
really
long as
weird,
yeah.
If I'm
Well
not engaged, it comes across, huh? Okay. So
well,
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you're not
Right, right.
engaged, it's you can
Wow.
the thing is when you're engaged, it's you.
Mm,
If you're just kind of
mm.
thinking something else, you're not gonna be engaged.
Wow, that's crazy. And how we want our bodies to like be healthy. We'll
Mhm.
just pop these supplements and vitamins, but we're not really engaged in wanting our bodies to be healthy.
No, no.
Give me my coffee, give me my food, and then let me go and work, and then I'm not engaged. The level of engagement is, if we could measure that, right? Probably watch ourselves, and then or the buzz and saying, oh, you didn't engage, like your iWatch tells you, that how much you stood every day. Like she has it set on the timer. Make sure you stand, so it'll like buzz me stand, right? So yeah, yeah, she has it. Yeah, she wants me to be healthy, right? Like I'm the one giving the health advice, but I talk to a lot of dentists and other doctor friends, and
Mhm.
and they know. But then when you ask them, do you do, like, if you, since you're a dentist, how many times do you brush your teeth a day, right? Supposedly you brush it as much as you could after meals and other things, because as we age, things start happening. Are you brushing it that many times? No. All right, so that's
Right.
the right, that's where we, as professionals, sometimes we don't always follow
Mhm.
what we say, because we figure, oh, you know what, I have in my bag of tricks a way to fix it. But these songs are almost like Excalibur. Don't if you're not right, then you don't qualify, or it disqualifies you. It forces you to become better if you want to, if you want to deserve the song, right?
Mhm.
Almost like that. So I that's my
Oh,
my
that's a
practice,
great
I think.
point. Yep,
Yeah. Okay. Right.
deserving songs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I do believe that a lot of us do not feel deserving.
Mm,
If you don't feel deserving, you're not going to feel like you are being loved and that you deserve it.
mm. So I'm
So,
going to try this one, right? So
okay,
it'll
lucky.
be your song, Elton John's version, and it'll be like this.
Mhm.
Um, it's a little bit funny, this feeling inside. I'm not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but boy, if I did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. if I was a sculptor, huh? But then again, no. Or a man who makes potions in a traveling show. I know it's not much, but it's the best I can do. My gift is my song, and this one's for you. And you can tell everybody this is your song. It may be quite simple, but now that it's done, I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind that I put down in words how wonderful life is while you're in my world. How's that?
Wow.
Engaging?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
very nice.
Hmm.
Very, very nice. The very first part, I think it took a little bit of time for you to
Hmm.
get really
Yeah.
focused
Yeah.
on
Yeah. You
it.
saw that. You caught that. That's right.
Yeah,
I felt it too. But I said, you
yeah.
know what? I'll let it sink in. If I did it again, I would say, it's a little bit funny, this feeling inside, right?
Yeah, you
I'm not one of those, right? So I could,
yeah.
right? I could be more, it, and each song has its challenging moments where switching from, right, from Can't Elvis to Elton John, we just
Right,
went,
right.
right? We just
It
went
is hard.
from the
It's
US to, from Graceland to the United Kingdom, right?
mhm.
And it's the feeling, it's a little bit different, right? Um, Ed Sheeran's Perfect, right? Was I think how did it go? I found a love for me, right? It's so different than it's a little bit funny.
Right, right.
This
No,
feeling is
yeah.
like different, right? And
Mhm.
then Lucky, right? You know, he's shouting across the water, right? Do you hear me? I'm talking to you. They're different phrases, and then the rest of it you fill in. And so what happened that night and Wednesday night was where I went, like we started at 8 p.m., um 9 maybe, but we went until like 2 in the morning.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't stop because it was like I kept getting more and more like I it's like, oh, this is cool. Oh, how about if I did this? And it no longer mattered until, and we won't work on this one today, but until I got to Unchained Melody.
Oh my
Because
gosh, I love that song.
Unchained Melody, when I tried to do the Your Song way or things like that, I
Mhm.
forgot. I didn't read through the lyrics. I didn't think about the context. The guy's dead. He's a ghost, right? You can't sing it the same way as like, oh, you're talking to someone, because it's not like that. And that was the thing that Teresa mentioned to me, and that was good in a sense. But
Yeah.
one day we'll do that one. The
Uh-huh.
next one is
Dr. Chu, are you
yeah.
seeing your video? Because I'm not seeing your video.
Ah, yes, that is
There you
the
go.
camera. I have three cameras here.
Mhm.
I'm going to just share with you the different ones so that you can see. This one is what we used to use, right? This is the live camera. Now,
Mhm.
disregard the lines in the back, but this is how fuzzy it was.
Mhm.
And then this is the next one. Then I upgraded to the next one where it has higher resolution. You can see it's higher resolution.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's not very engaging. You see, I'm like, I could be really engaged and doesn't engage you. And then let's switch to this one. Um, and then you can see this is an actual camera, and you
Yeah.
can see like,
This one looks really good.
right. So I'm like right there.
Yeah.
Um, and this is a good using a visual to show engagement, is that
Mhm.
I could be engaged, but you're not engaging me. When I use the USB mic, it wasn't really me. It was like a version of me, right? And
Mhm.
then now with the analog mics, it doesn't matter which kind. I mean, they all bring different versions of it, but I can see my levels. And then it's just analog is analog. And this, like, just like this camera is is it just has a different connection. And the connection is really important because you're helping me to see my connection. And if I'm having things that block it, right,
Mhm.
then it limits it.
Well, if you know, the clearer you can
Mm,
see someone,
mm,
I
mm,
think the better you feel connected.
mm.
And this video or this camera is really, it makes you look great, and it's like you're right there in, you know, you're right there with us. So
Yeah, I wanted you because I've started using this one on the show, and at first
yeah,
everyone said there was no difference until I let them compare them
yeah,
right next to each other, and
yeah,
then everyone says, "Oh, this is the one," right?
yeah.
So just like the camera, if you don't compare your what I was like when I first entered in this, people say, "Oh, delete that. That wasn't really good." I don't want you to see the perfect me. I
Mhm.
want you to see the imperfect me and I want to see the imperfect me because that's where there's a saying that goes, if you think you're healthy, then you don't have to heal, you don't have to be fixed. We all need to be fixed in some ways, and every day there's an adjustment. We're constantly adjusting, and that honesty with ourselves is really important.
Mhm.
um so this song, right, I'm not as familiar with it. Smile.
Oh, it's a great song. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, right. I'm not as familiar with it, so there might be a little bit of issues. But what I remember uh, is smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile, though your fear and sorrows, smile, and maybe tomorrow you see the sun. Wait, hold on. I think I need to be brighter because it throws it off. So I'll try again. Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile, through your fears and sorrows, smile, and maybe tomorrow you see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness, although our tears may be ever so near. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
That was nice.
Yeah, and you saw what happened when I had the lower, right? I
Right.
lost myself in there because I couldn't bring out the feeling when I was
Yeah.
lower.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
really, really lovely. Yeah. I
Oh,
have to
thank you.
say that was really lovely.
Mm,
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, it just I felt the hot when you went a little higher, it just kind of caught you, and it engaged you, and it your voice just, it just caught, it just took hold of the song. Not a question.
why does that, like, what's the your experience behind that of what just happened? Like 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, right? I went between two versions right there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even call it a mystery, but just sometimes, you know, certain
Mm,
songs. That's why I think keys are very important, because
mm,
you can have a song. Some songs need that higher sound in your voice. It's experimental, and I feel like when you were doing the yo smile, it was just too low, and it
mm,
was kind of caught. Whereas
mm,
when you went a little higher, it soared a little bit. It was
mm.
like an eagle that just could, you know, fly. It soared. And then when that happened for you, you even more get engaged even deeper.
And when I engage, that's when the tunes happen because I only listened to this. You know how we switched it from the way
Yeah.
we were to smile,
The way
right?
we were. Yeah.
Yeah. Only because I wanted the theme to be like all positive, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to contaminate, but the fact that, we went through this so quickly, right? And you gave me some things, and I'm very comfortable with you, and that's important, on sharing like the weakness. But of course, I'm gonna broadcast this so that, like I did with the other ones, it's just I want people to know that it's not about hiding behind something. And yesterday, while I was so busy, no practice, was we were talking about management styles inside a company, all right, or inside a family. And this was at Harvard, and they were showing us how in teams you have better results when versus an individual, because an individual can burn out, individual can be swayed, but as a team you become much stronger. But then you also have to know the difference between a work group and a team. And a work group is where there's a leader, and then there's people who report back to the leader. And in teams, there's no leader. We're all the same, right? And we're all connecting deeply. And then how do you build team culture? It's really about letting other people ask any question. There's no stupid question. There's not those dumb questions, but anything, and having that psychological comfort so that you can be you. And that's the thing in singing. Oftentimes I've noticed that people are so into hitting the notes and the technical stuff, but because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to affect the healing side of singing. If I don't mean it, then no matter how technical I am, it doesn't matter. But how much can I mean it, right? How much can you mean something? You can keep going, right? It's like when you don't, and you're really good at this, because I can share with you and you can tell me if I meant it. My wife, same thing. And then my daughters, like they don't know this stuff. So if they pause and they actually are there and they're watching, like, oh, you're totally different. How come you can't be like that an hour ago, right? And it was like, right. And it was until that clicked, right? It's starting to click a little bit where I'll listen to a lot of people sing, and then they'll have their own style. Well, some of them throw a lot of decorations on there, but they're performing. They're not
Right.
They're not right. They're not really into, and I can see all the decorations almost like a car. You put in all the fancy stuff, but are you really using its functionality, or is it just you're just hiding behind a brand, right? And this whole talk, right, yesterday about teams, we have gone, and I don't know if you noticed this, but we have gone from, in education, as a recipient of the industrial age, where we wanted everyone to be normal, bell curve, right? And that normality was, all right, everyone craft singles, Heinz ketchup, right? And then suddenly it stopped working. Not everyone wants Heinz ketchup. Now, if Heinz decided to do, like, let's say, a healthy ketchup or something, the problem with that is that what's wrong with your other ketchup, right? If you decided to, so now they're constrained, and this is something, a term that's called, if you've been exploiting something for a long time, it really prevents you from being able to explore new territories, new things, unless you're willing to admit to change, right? And if you want positive change and positive impact, then you've got to be willing to let go of the ego, let go of all that.
Not a question.
Right. And that the whole talk was about, the study we're doing is that it's not up to you. If you continue to go in that direction, knowing that you've invested in digital film, you're producing the Polaroid, right? You're producing it, but you've invested in digital film, but yet it might affect you, kind of like that example I gave. And then you let the whole business fail because you want to keep exploiting, but the markets have changed. The world has changed, and people want that ability. Nokia thought that we could use cheaper phones, so they kept making cheaper phones, but the market said, no, I want my phone to have more functionality. I want multiple cameras. You can't fight that. So with a song, it's already pre-written, right? You have got to express it. And I thought that this is really, once that clicked and hit me, I felt that's really something very, very special. And I wanted to share that with you to see what you thought. about that?
Well, it's interesting that, you know, the comparison of a team versus an individual singing a song. Well,
Mm,
what I'm hearing from you is in a
mm,
team, you know, everybody brings something to the table. It's
mm.
not under this big, huge rule. Like
Yeah.
everything is in under rule, and you have to do this, you have to come up. It's conditional, etc. In a team, it's like everybody's listening to one another. Everybody's
Mm,
authentic and unique, and the
mm,
team is created
mm,
as that. In singing, you have a song, and then
mm,
you have one song. Let's just say one song, but you have lots of different people singing that one song, but they
mm,
sing it very differently. and
mm,
and that's kind of what I feel like in is with singing, with when you are your authentic self, when
mm,
you are singing what you are feeling, what the song means to you, and you are totally engaged into it,
mm.
you can't lose. I mean,
That's right. That's right.
people around you are going to listen and be be you know, touched by it, by in one way, because it's
Mm,
basically a little bit about energy as well, because when you are totally engaged, people feel that. And I think that's what people really feel like with really great singers. They're really able to do that. They're just able to be themselves. They also have a lot of talent, but if they weren't themselves in that song, nobody would really want to hear it, or they would hear it and it would sound pretty, but it wouldn't touch them. I think people really want to be touched. They want to know themselves. They want to be able to express themselves. And I think that's what you do
yeah.
here. What you're,
Yeah, I think in the research, I have found a lot of things I'd never thought about is that if you have any question whether or not a soul exists, or are we just like animals, right? Well, what we were just doing today, yeah, we were feeding the soul. If you can't communicate with someone else's soul, I mean, this is all blocked by the feed, the camera, right? We want to reduce it as much as possible, but um, how is it possible through all these connections that you move someone and do you move yourself? And it's so easy to lose engagement. I showed that today, right? When I first came in, or even if I sang lower on one song, and I'm glad I didn't write down any of these notes ahead of time, and that I was able to show my vulnerabilities. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see it, and then I wouldn't be able to learn from it, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's I'm every week that every time I've worked with you, or from last week, you're more
Mm.
engaged, and I think
Yeah.
more relaxed. I think being
Right.
engaged,
Right. Right.
when you're not, when you're in a frenzy, it's really hard to engage. However, when you are in a
Mm,
frenzy, the quickest way you can get engaged is to breathe, is to follow your breath and just sit for 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and just feel your breath and just breathe deep and out, breathe deep in and out. And I do that all the time. Actually, I do that when I can't sleep.
yeah, you mentioned holding that and holding that breath and practicing that.
Mhm.
That's really something. Now, you know how I removed the way we were, the Barbara
Mhm.
Streisand song. What would have happened if we put it in there, right? Like, what would have happened to the mood of this, let's say, this session? Would it be affected by that?
Uh, that's an interesting thought. It's a very, very sad song. I think
Mm,
it's more melancholy. It's more I think thinking about regrets.
mm,
Um, Whereas these other songs are thinking about the future and
mm,
thinking about where you are in the moment and then in the future. Whereas the way we were is really looking back at the past, you know, and I think maybe feeling regrets or feeling sadness about it. And the other
mm,
songs were more lucky, keep on going, I can't help falling in love with you, which is like here and now. And
mm,
then the other song, the Elton John, your song, it's a little bit funny how I'm feeling inside. You're in the moment, and
mm.
smile when your heart is shaking. You know, you smile when it's again being in the
It's still
moment,
very positive, right? It's like
very
positive,
positive.
which is why we needed the brighter tone, right? So
Right.
I'm going to ask you, So I have a friend who works at Warner once upon a time, and she's in the music. She worked under Carter Armstrong, and we for 20 years, I didn't know that Mel could sing. I
Wow.
thought she was like a secretary there somewhere. And I said, no, she performs and I said, wow, see, because of our sessions, because I'm actually doing this research, I've now asked people, do you sing? Like I'm the one initiating, and it changes the entire tone of conversation, because we could talk for hours, this friendship. And
Yeah.
across 20 years, we never talked about, because of her, she's invited me into Warner Studios in LA. And yeah, I walked in there, I had no idea. I don't really know what you do. She matches the music to, like, she matched the music to Batman and all those other, great ones. And so she said, of course I'd have to, everybody inside that department had to be musically inclined. And one of the other individuals, his name is Doug Frank, we had an interview together, and Doug was the former president of Warner Music. Now, he and I never talked about music. We never talked about it. And he could play, and he could have all that. And yeah, we never, And so that's how focused I was. I was really focused, but not. And so why now, right? Why am I looking at it this way? I homeschool my kids. Bringing music is a really important part of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And without it, I think it provides a different shaping, and I don't want that. I want them to have, first of all, when they hear me sing, now I have no ego left, right? It's like, oh, you can't just have sung and then be yelling at someone, right? You can't be scolding them, or it's just, right? You're much more approachable,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I want to try what we did last week with Sweet Caroline after doing some of these practices, and see if you feel there's any difference, right?
Okay. Sounds good.
Where it began, I can't begin to know when, but then I know it's growing strong. Was in the spring, and spring became the summer. Who'd have believed you'd come along? Hands touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, ba ba bum, good times never seem so good. I've been inclined, ba ba ba, to believe they never would, but now I look at the night and it don't seem so lonely. We filled it up with only two. And when hurting runs off my shoulders. How can I hurt when holding you? Warm, touching warm, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, ba ba ba, good times never seem so good. I've been inclined, ba ba ba, to believe they never would. Oh no, no, no. So I guess I got more into it towards the
You
end.
totally did. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
great.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about engagement, and you were there.
Yeah.
That was really, really nice. Yeah, last week you floated on it.
Yeah.
Sweet care, and it was good. But this, you were definitely putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
The vulnerability was there.
Right. And
Loved it.
that you prefer this week's version.
Yes, I do. I do. Yeah. It's not
Why?
careful. Because
Right.
it's not careful.
Because it's not careful.
Right.
Because it's not like it's been
You're thinking before you're just sweet Caroline. Bum,
right.
bum. You're having fun and joy. And that's
Yeah.
really what singing again is all about. Having fun and enjoying it. Whatever comes out, comes out. Sometimes it's right on, sometimes maybe a little, but it's still good because you're enjoying it.
You
And
want to know the data now? So the data for the cells and the healing is that second version.
yes,
Is being engaged, but what do you mean by being engaged, right? Or singing a certain note. It's like when you engage, it fixes the note thing, which is
yes,
wild and
totally.
weird. It's like
Yes.
weird.
Mhm.
Yeah. Why does it do that?
I don't know, but
Like,
if you if
yeah.
you if you listen to the old Bruce Springsteen,
Mm,
"Born in the USA," and he had that really, he wasn't
right.
in tune a lot. He was
Yeah.
pitchy, but it didn't matter because he was just running around the stage and just singing, and just he was totally engaged, and
Mm,
everybody loved it. I don't know.
mm.
So that's
So
why.
the mystery is all about the engagement, huh?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
engagement, I think,
Wow.
is the key.
Mm,
And not only in music, but in engagement in your life, engaging in life, engaging in your relationships in life,
mm,
engaging with your children, with your animals. It all works. It makes life work way
mm.
better than not being engaged, wouldn't you say?
I've started to notice, like when we do these data sets and we look at p-values and whether or not there's correlation, engagement counts. Now I'm going to give you a case where it's for Teach for America.
Hmm.
And this case was, one of the things is Teach for America uses like Princeton and top school graduates, and they invite them in to work with students in underserved communities. And Teach for America started in the 80s, and very famous. But they've been not so successful. Like they'll work on getting these crowds, and then people will fill out the application, but halfway through or partially through, they won't finish the application. And so we started looking at the data sets of why. So we looked at whether or not GPA, if you had a higher GPA from Princeton, whether or not that meant that you would finish your application. And there was no correlation. Another one is whether you're from Princeton or from Rutgers or different schools, whether or not that mattered. And there wasn't much correlation. But then there's also the date of filling out the application. And it turned out that people who fill out the application earlier were engaged. They wanted it. Well, that seems obvious now if I give out that, but until I shared that data with you, you would know that that was the outlier. You'd think, oh, maybe other things. And then another item is they had this like session, like almost like onboarding, and
Hmm.
it showed that onboarding and not onboarding did not make a difference. Spending that extra time to make sure people onboarded, and it wasn't as impactful as if they fill out the application. And then you looked at majors. They were like chemistry majors, education majors. You think education, yeah, education. Nope, it wasn't education. It was art majors that would complete their applications. They would follow through, especially if they minored in education. Ooh, makes you start thinking like, so oftentimes our majors maybe what we think is necessary for us to check the box, but a minor is because we love it. All right. It's something we care about. Right. And then the flip side, of course, is maybe the art majors didn't have any offers to do and they had the time. Right. That's the other, right. The data won't tell you, right. They won't tell you, but they'll just tell you the indication. Right. But it's if we look at these data sets, we'll be able to tell different things. And if we ask experts and professionals and we start now, okay, now we know something. So as I share with you about the value of engagement, it's more than hitting the note by a lot
Hmm.
on the healing side. You could actually see that that with teams, right? Teams, it made a big difference. How engaged your CEO is about your work.
Hmm.
And so there was another case study on retention. You got a great employee, they leave. So what you do is you model around that great employee who left and say, all right, let's prevent this from happening again.
Hmm.
And say you're Amazon or something like that. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you obvious would be let's pay them more money. It didn't work. The more of the salary doesn't usually work unless they're like, working at, let's say, I don't know, a 7-Eleven or a Walmart, then yeah, maybe if they're, filling boxes, and maybe, and even then that's a maybe, right? It's not about the money versus the purpose. When you're purposeful, people love that. People will stay longer. They will feel much more part of that team and company when there's an impact and purpose. And isn't that amazing that it differentiates, that people are differentiated, which is a good thing. They're not driven by money. They're driven by purpose. And also how engaged your CEO is with your project. If they don't care, right? Or, it makes you feel like it doesn't matter. Well, that is how there's nothing you can do. They'll just leave, because we want to belong to something. And maybe that also explains what you just shared with the music. Yeah. Very insightful.
It
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, purpose is huge. I mean, I think that sometimes in the elderly, that the reason why they get depressed is because they don't feel like they have purpose, and they get a little down, because,
Right.
and
Right.
so it's very important to engage with elderly people,
Mm,
80s and 90s, something, whether it might be, art, well, actually art and music and all those kind of things really do. Even playing games, it
mm,
makes it engages you and it brings you joy. I think simple things like that are
right.
helpful. But
Yeah.
music in education, I mean, I feel like art and music, they are, it's a little multidimensional, wouldn't you say? It's not just, there's a lot of things going on when you're
It's
playing.
dynamic.
It's
It has
very
lots. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot
It feeds the soul. It feeds the soul. Right.
exactly.
Yeah. So if we
Exactly.
do have a soul, then that's another indication that with all these data that we are human. We're not animals, and we're not a machine. And there are things that we're not just attracted to shiny things. We're attracted to things that make us feel good. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not
Mm.
material things only go so far.
Yeah.
That's why
That's right.
people who are very
Mm.
materialistic at maybe some point in their life, they kind of come to a crash and like, oh my God, if they're feeding that, they're feeding their soul with materialism, it's not going to work.
It can only go for so far and so
Right.
long. And so maybe music
Absolutely.
like this, right? Let's say someone like that gets sick, and they work themselves, chase after and they used to call it the Joneses or things like that, right?
Mhm.
And then you get sick. Well, you've got to, if you didn't have any of the music and the art beforehand, healing that sickness is going to be that much harder. And
Mhm.
so that's the flip side. We'll talk more about that, but thank you so much for doing this with me today. And I'll end the recording here.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.